Hey everybody, welcome back to World History with Mr. Finn. Today we are talking about education. It's a good thing because that's where we are at. Universities. Universities. This is big for us because we are finally going to get to a point where we start to see education. Like actual education again. If you remember, long ago when we were talking about Rome, you had tutors and kids were meant to be intelligent, learn how to speak, learn about math and science and facts and all of that stuff. And then when Rome collapsed, we got plunged into this weird kind of mixing of cultures between barbarian tribes and Roman culture, and they mixed together. But part of that was just the loss of engineering, intelligence, schooling. All of that kind of went out the window. And so it has been a long time coming for us to get back to universities. And this is right on the tail end of what we were talking about last time with one of the good things coming out of the church. The church had done something. The church had really, church sets the stage for universities. All right, what does that mean? In the church, what you were going to have early on with the church is going to be something called, you'd have monks, right? Monks was a clergy position. It was people who were in the church, and they would live in a monastery. And what would they do all day for the most part? Well, they would pray, but they would also be essentially this word, scribes. And what does that mean? It means they would copy books. There's not really a better way to put it. Copy books, copy versions of the Bible, they started to copy some old Latin works from like Roman and Greek authors. So a lot of the knowledge that we have today about Greece and Rome and ancient times is going to come because these monks and the church are going to set up a system where they preserve this information. Without it, it would be lost, and we would not know half the stuff we know. So the church did something early on, and it continued to have these monks copying down these books. Imagine that was your day. I'm going to give you a textbook, and you just start copying it down. Now you have two of them. It took you 5 months to copy this down. In any case, but these monks would be in these monasteries doing these works, and that essentially is going to set the stage for these universities. The idea of it, people, in this case men, working in a room, copying down works of literary works. However, universities are slightly different, and what's going to be different about them is something that we talked about also. So one, the church sets the stage for this. It allows for the creation of these universities, but really what's going to play an even bigger role, because that was just the beginning of it, is going to be this. The guild system. So one of the guilds that existed, if you remember when we talked about guilds could be like a blacksmith, a bread maker, they had, ceramic guilds, they had every kind of guild, any profession that people could do, any job, was to be part of a guild, and you'd be part of that guild. And one of those is going to be like, for example, like the law guild, or people who practiced in, the court system and things like that. There's, education guilds, every kind of guild you can imagine, there were some. And so in order for the people of these guilds, for example, the, law practicing guild, would be that this was not like making a sword or armor like we talked about last time. You would have to gain knowledge. You would have to gain knowledge. That's not like learn. I mean, you have to gain knowledge if you're going to make a sword. You have to gain knowledge if you're going to make bread. You got to gain knowledge, and no matter what. But it was not going to be what we would consider blue collar, working with your hands. If you were a lawyer or something like that, you would be working with using your mind, and you needed to learn things. And that's where these universities, the first universities, are going to come out of, is the guild system, really. So the church sets the stage of having these people together. And then the guild system is going to kind of expand it And then as you got into these new guilds, you're going to start to have these universities, and you really what's going to happen is you're going to learn new subjects. So it's not just going to be law. Like it's going to it's going to morph or grow from this early idea of learning one thing to kind of like what we have today. I mean, we're in school. We're not in a university. But I do have some things here. Like, I just want to say I have the basic knowledge of what you would learn in these universities, right? So you'd learn grammar. Actually, I know you have arithmetic. That's what I thought. Logic, arithmetic, which just, Marth. Almost put Marth down. That's silly. Math. Astronomy, which is like study of the sky and the space. You'd also have theology. Theology is the study of like religion. So you're seeing that it's going to go from one to now, you're learning English and math and some science, logic and reason and science, that goes with science, theology, and then learning about religion at the same time. So you're going to have a wide range of subjects that you start to learn in these universities. And those are the beginnings of, what we're going to see. I think I mentioned it briefly last class with, the age of exploration and the scientific revolution and things like that, where, as more and more people start to learn about these things, and they're studying ancient works, they're studying, people like Aristotle, like we mentioned, they're learning about stuff. Universities are going to turn towards, and this is where we have a problem. I know I mentioned this. We are going to start to see the universities cause this problem. Church versus science. And here's the deal when we talk about church and science, all right? It is okay to believe in science. It is okay to have faith in the church, okay? It does not matter what. I mean, if you're watching this, you could have some other viewpoints on anything at all. But here is the deal. Church is going to be faith-based, all right? So the people who, even today, if you are a very religious person, people who are based in religion believe in faith. They have to have faith in something, because that's the basis of it. That is the basis of religion in general. I have faith in something. I have faith that there is a heaven. I have faith that I do good works. I have faith that I do these things. I have faith in that. Faith is lacking one thing, but that's what science does have, and this is the problem that we're going to have. We have a versus sign. Science is evidence-based. All right? Now, again, there's nothing wrong with this. Science says, hey, you must have evidence or you can't prove it. And the church is saying, I don't need to prove it. I don't need evidence. I need to have faith. And so the problem that you are going to see, as you can probably already see, is they instead of being like, okay, we understand, each other, it's this. Science is like, there's no evidence. You can't prove it. It's not real. And the church is like, we don't have to. We have to have faith. It doesn't matter what you say. There's no way to come together. And this is the problem that universities and this new subjects are going to start to create. And that's what's going to bring us to issues when we do have the scientific revolution, which is coming up pretty soon. But that's a preview. Something else to discuss is about the universities. This is something that happens too. Universities are going to start to, I guess I'll just use the word pop up around Europe. All right? They're going to start popping up around Europe in different countries. in primarily England and France. I'm sure you have some in Italy too. Italy is pretty affluent, is the word. But here's the thing. We get a new term. Out of this, we start to see this term called the vernacular or common language. So your common language, what is it? I'm speaking in English. English is my vernacular. That is the common language. If I was in Mexico, I might speak Spanish. That might be the vernacular there. If I'm in France, it might be French. If I'm in Italy, it might be Italian. You get the idea. So the idea is all of these different languages start to be used in a lot of different ways. Before we started to see the vernacular, the common language of all these different countries being used in literature and stuff, everything, I'll just put it down here, before it was only Latin. It was only Latin before that. So the church would only use Latin. The books would only be written in Latin. That was like the professional language. It was the only language. If you were going to learn how to read, you needed to learn how to read this because that's what books were being made and written in, is only Latin. Now that we have universities, we start to get new people having new ideas. They start writing new works, new books, new things, fictional books where it's like stories. All kinds of things start coming out of people now getting back to education. And one of them is the beginning of seeing the vernacular, the common language. People spoke it. If you went back to the year 1000 and wherever, they would be speaking a common vernacular language like English, French, something, or some variation or dialect of it. But the writing and everything professional was only in Latin. One of the things, again, that changes now is the writing, the type of books, all of that stuff is starting to be written in the vernacular. So more and more people are becoming literate, more and more people being able to read, more and more people are having new ideas. They're starting to theorize things. We're starting to see science rise up. Now, regardless of your position on anything, once you start to see education and science and theories and hypothesis and all of these scientific ideas, this is when you're going to see education and engineering and things come back. There's a level of intelligence. You don't need to know those things if you're only religion. If religion is your only thing. Remember, like I said, faith-based. I don't need to know any of this stuff. All I need to know is I believe what I believe, and this is what I got to do, and this is where I'm going when I die. And all of those things, as long as I have faith, I'm good. I don't need to learn. I don't need to know all of this other stuff. And so what happens is you lose all of the things that this stuff allows for, like reading, writing, books, engineering, cities, and architecture. All of that stuff you don't have if you're only worried about religion. And the Middle Ages in Europe were, for the longest time, only worried about religion. So this is a new thing that's going to change the culture in Europe, and it's going to spur us forward. Like, the creation of universities is a big deal. As they start popping up in different countries, this is going to, again, culture change and shoot Europe forward and kind of bring them out of the dark ages. But then we have the problem, church, science, and how you fight it off. As far as today goes, universities is the deal. I want you to find, this is what I want you to type in, Europe's first universities. That's what I want you to find, and give me 5. We'll make them fun today, fun facts. Find some information out. Where did the first universities begin? So Europe's first universities, tell me 5 things about them. Just get familiar with them. Might be some of the same stuff, but look it up. That's your assignment for today. And on that note, we'll keep it moving. So turn this in today for attendance and participation purposes, and I will see you next class.